Hello and welcome. My name is John McKenzie, and this is a presentation about the classification of quadrilaterals using some technology tools for the technology course at Cornerstone University. So the reason I chose this is, this is my 5th year teaching, and students seem to struggle with this concept every year. And so in reflection, it's something I want to always do better. And I think with this activity specifically, because it's less numbery, if that's a word, if you will, than math, there are some opportunities for like word organization and property organization. The other thing is they can be classified in several ways, so it's not always a real simple method of finding the relationships between the quadrilaterals. I found this Post-it Plus app, and what this does is allows students to take what's on Post-it notes and organize them. And I'm looking to have this be a little open-ended and that it'll encourage them to look at trends, and it'll encourage them to find those relationships that I would just tell them before. And I'm hoping if they're kind of discovering it themselves, that it'll stick a little better, and they'll retain and understand the information better. So my main objectives, and paired with the standards, would be that they're able to accurately classify quadrilaterals. And the shapes I wanted to include are squares, rhombi, parallelograms, rectangles, trapezoids, and kites. I also want them to be able to explain and elaborate on similarities and differences between those quadrilaterals. And I want them to master the use of the technology. So most specifically the Post-it Plus app. And it's not listed there either. It's on the next step. There's also a Web 2.0 tool, and I gave them some options. The one I chose to use was linked with Google. It was a draw app, but any way they chose to use it, I wanted them to master that tech tool. The IS standards would that they'd use models and simulations to explore complex systems and issues. That'd be like the Post-it Plus app. That they'll interact, collaborate, and publish with peers, experts, or others, employing a variety of digital environments and media. So in my lesson plan, there's built-in things for collaboration and sharing. And then the last standard I chose was students will collect and analyze data to identify solutions and or make informed decisions. So there's a place where they record similarities and differences they find. Then they're going to analyze that to come up with some definitions, and then apply those definitions to correctly classify the quadrilaterals. So coming up for materials for this was actually kind of difficult, because in the lesson plan I built in a lot of flexibility for the type of tools students can use. I like giving options. So the one thing they will need are iPads for the Post-it Plus app. So depending on your school, some schools have iPads. We have a bring your own device, so we don't have like an iPad cart. What I always do is there are 4 or 5 in a class, and then we make groups that all use the iPad. So that app is not available for Android at this point. All students in my classes would use the second one, the BYOD, bring your own device. That app needs to be on the iPad. That's not a physical thing, but I felt like that's something a teacher would need to know to implement this. Scrap paper and pencils for students to plan. Although I really like technology and use technology in my class every day, I put a high value on the ability to write and organize that way as well. The teacher should have samples of use of the Post-it app. You need a set of Post-it notes, because what the app actually does is takes a picture of the board, the notes on the board, and then lets you manipulate those. And then I also teach co-taught classes, so there needs to be accommodated organizational and classification chart for students that have a hard time with organization, and that'd be accommodated. A lot of times those students need just a little something extra to get going. And then we'll also need a teacher laptop with Reflector app. Part of the lesson plan I had was sharing. That Reflector app allows students to just throw whatever is on their iPad up on the screen through the laptop. And then you'd also need a technology cart with an AV hookup of some sort to make that work. So here's a brief description of my lesson. There's an opener with a square on the board. And what I hope to do there is just draw a square, and students will most likely say square. And of course they're not wrong, but then I'll also let them know they're not right. And a lot of times what they'd want to do is figure out what they would need to say or how to classify it to be correct. The square is, a lot of different. The definition of a square is very specific to that image, but then it also fits the definition of a bunch of other quadrilaterals. You need to have Post-it notes on the board next, in any order you choose. Those should be pre-made by the teacher, and I'll show you the set when we look at, I took some screenshots of the app, so you'll be able to see what that looks like better there. So you can mix them up, you can arrange them any order you want, but the post-it notes need to be on the board ready to have the students take a picture with the iPad. That'll be in the post-it app. Then they're going to organize those posts in 2 different ways, and that's really general. Like, they could just classify them in any method they want. It could be as simple as quadrilaterals and not quadrilaterals, because I included some pictures that weren't. But there's some flexibility there. They're going to share their findings, and they're going to use that reflector app. What happens is it uses AirPlay, so they just swipe up from the bottom of the iPad, and they should be able to see the reflector app or my computer, and they click that and screen share, and it comes up on the computer. It's pretty slick. They're going to create diagram of connections using technology. That's that Web 2.0 tool. They're going to share that as a whole class. Again, they can share that digitally through the laptop group by group. We're going to have questions or input from the class in general, like to wrap things up. And then there's some independent work on this free worksheet from Math that actually does a pretty good job for some high-level thinking. And I'll show you what that looks like in a moment, too. For the assessment, I chose 2 areas. I created a rubric using the Rubistar website, and that's just a general technology rubric that encourages students to work well together and really dive into the technology piece. And then secondly, I was going to just do a straight % correct assessment from the Math worksheet that I found online that has students both do 2 things. It says you need to name the shape by the most specific name, you know, the one that most specifically describes the shape, but then there's another section in which you'd have to name it by all the different quadrilateral names you could. So it has them thinking of the quadrilaterals in both ways, which I really liked. So here we are to the exhibits. This first one, I used this Web 2.0 app called draw.io. And actually, if you set it up, it can be drive.draw.io, and it hooks with your Google Drive. And it was pretty easy to use. You could make different shapes. You can see that I had to make my own shape. And the quadrilaterals there, that isn't a specific type of quadrilateral. But it lets you write in text, and you could see how I put some things inside of other things or across. So it's more complex than just a simple Venn diagram would be, and this is just one of the tools. You could also put the shapes and squares forward or back on the picture, so if you made a mistake, you could really go back and fix it. So it ended up working out pretty well for me. Another thing that's pretty nice, how I got this in the slide for anybody that's interested, I downloaded this software online called GreenShot, and it's a screenshot software. And it's actually really easy to use and really nice. I like that it has a copy feature and it just pastes in all stuff Google. So, yeah, in case anybody's interested in a good screenshot app. So here's an in-app picture of the Post-it notes with the Post-it Plus app. You can see that the app recognized all the different Post-its that were on the board, and you can see all different types of quadrilaterals or not quadrilaterals on there. And it gave a little check mark saying that it found the edges. So that's what that looks like in-app. And then next, what it does is, this is how it looks like in-app without the board, and it's ready to arrange. You can rename the groups. You can make as many groups as you'd like. That looks like this a little more. So I labeled them by right angles, opposite sides parallel with no right angles. I had just one that said different. I was kind of anticipating maybe what students would do. A not quadrilateral section and only one pair of parallel line section. But you can rearrange these in any way, and it was really intuitive. It worked really nice. So I was pretty impressed with the app in terms of organization. And I think I'll probably use that tool in the future for sure. Other than this lesson, it was pretty slick. Hey, thanks for taking a listen. And I hope you got some good tech tools out of this. If nothing else, I know it's pretty math specific. But good luck on your technology journey.